Your positive imprint. Stories are everywhere.
People and their positive action inspire positive achievements.
Your PI could mean the world to you. Get ready for your positive imprint.
Hello, this is Catherine, your host of the podcast, Your Positive Imprint, the variety show featuring people all over the world whose positive achievements inspire positive thought and action. Exceptional people rising to the challenge. Music by the talented Chris Knoll. Some of my favorites are Lay Across My Piano, Hambone Boogie, Wide Horizon, Life on Mars, Gumbalaya, and of course, Elevated Intentions. Learn more about Chris at chrisknoll.com. CHRISNOLE. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Your Positive Imprint. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out my YouTube channel, Your Positive Imprint. Listen from the podcast platform you're listening from now, or, of course, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, or any podcast platform. And don't forget to share your favorite episodes with friends and family. Under that play button on my website, yourpositiveimprint.com, is a share button. Click that button and share. Most podcast platforms do allow you to also share. I certainly appreciate that support, and please hit that 5-star review and feel free to leave positive reviews. Your Positive Imprint. What's your PI? Today is a special day, and I don't want to take that up with any announcements. I just want to go directly to my mother, Victoria Sanchez, on this very special day.
Thank you, Catherine. It is Mother's Day, and I want to wish the mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers and godmothers and stepmothers all over the world a very happy and blessed Mother Day, whenever you celebrate it. And I was on episode 77 when you detailed my community involvement in my professional activities. So today, I'd like to talk just about our family. Oh. And I'm going to let you read something, Catherine.
Okay. And that's this?
Yes, and I will give the introduction. When we were married, I got monthly gifts and monthly messages. This was on our 3rd month anniversary. And mind you, it's the 3rd month, not year, the 3rd month. But it was the foundation for our marriage, truly. And this is what my husband said.
August 1956.
Yes.
Should I have said the date?
Of course.
To my loving wife, I pray, my dear, that God will be good to us and bless us with children who will make us proud to reflect our memories upon them whose happiness was the fruit of our labor and our love. And in the end, I want us to look at each other saying, together we have lived our lives, raised our children. Together we saved our souls. Together we made the world a better place to live. Now, as our lives come to an end, we shall together enter into the supernatural wedlock of eternal paradise. God so loved us that he brought us to him, united for all eternity. My dear, how do I love you? I love you deep from within now and forever. Happy anniversary, Rosie.
Yes. And you can guess that indeed my husband is deceased. Excuse me. And I had heaven on earth with him, but that was the beginning. I want to tell you that we had 5 children. We have 5 children. Mary, Carol, Robert, Catherine, and Linda. It's 4 girls and 1 son, 4 daughters and 1 son. And as a family, we espoused faith from the very beginning. All of our children are married. They have wedding anniversaries ranging from, in 2020, from 40 years to 27 years. We have 8 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren and 2 step-great-grandchildren. Our children all graduated from the university, with many of them with further degrees, masters, doctors. We have 7 grandchildren who did the same. The 8th is working on his master's now. So we have truly been blessed as a family. But it started out with faith, and I want to just tell you about some of our activities. When the first children came along, we were in Albuquerque, and my husband was a practicing attorney. And he took the bus every day to work. As an attorney, he had his own practice, and later as a judge. He always took the bus, public transportation. That was part of saving the environment, as we later told our kids when they wanted to perhaps drive. No, you take the bus. Yes. And I hear Catherine laughing. It's true. When I was so anxious for my husband to come home that I would go and take the children to the bus stop to meet him. And then later they got a little older in school, the oldest, and they would go to the bus stop to meet their daddy, but they would take all their friends with them. And they would have maybe 12 or more at the bus stop. And they would all be yelling, "Daddy, Daddy." And the bus driver and the passengers, they all got a big kick out of that. So it was an important part of our life was family. Sundays they were reserved for the family. We did a lot of hiking, a lot of going to the zoo and having picnic lunches at the zoo. We did a lot of things with the family. Always close togetherness. We went to church, of course, the days on Sundays, and so on, during the week, to school. We did all the things that parents do with their children. The dancing lessons, the sporting activities, the basketball, the football, the cross country, the piano lessons, guitar lessons, and so on. I'd like to tell you one beautiful backpacking trip because it's one that the kids have talked about. They were young. The youngest was 5, and so the oldest would have been 13. And we went down to the Gila. Actually, we were camping. This was not backpacking, that trip. We were camping. We were camping on Willow Creek. And we happened to go hiking. And when we were hiking, we noticed signs of elk. And we always taught the kids everything that we could about the out of doors, appreciation for plants, animals, conservation, the environment. They knew about the trails, how to be trail savvy, and so on. We said, well, if you want to see the elk, we can come out at night, and we'll hike to this destination where we'd seen all the sign. So that evening, the youngest and I stayed at the campsite, and the rest went hiking to the place where they'd seen the elk. It was not too far, a couple miles, and my husband put them all behind some cover, and then the elk came, and they observed the elk, but all of a sudden the mother elk, the cow elk, saw them, and she had a calf, and she started pawing, and so my husband said, "Time to go." So they left, and we went back to at that time we had a tent trailer. We had outgrown the tents. So that was a lot of fun to see the elk in their natural environment. Prior to that, we had been backpacking. Let me think. Well, for the first backpacking trip for them all was Grand Canyon. Is that right, Catherine?
That would have been in the spring.
That was the whole family.
That was the whole family.
Okay.
And then Gila later was...
Yes. But I was trying to think of... I know. I want to talk about another backpacking trip. I want to talk about the one to Lake Catherine. via Spirit Lake and Stewart Lake. That was our adventure. So we had 2 3-man tents, so that meant 4 of us had to sleep in one tent and 3 in the other. We went first to Spirit Lake and then to Stewart Lake in the Pecos Wilderness, which is a beautiful area in New Mexico. And then we went to Lake Catherine. Now, Lake Catherine is 11,000, I think either 700 or 900, 11,700 feet high. It's ways to get, it's termed a difficult hike, and it was. So we pitched our tents. Beautiful lake, it was in a bowl. And the Forest Service regulations state that you have to be so many feet from the lake, which of course we were. My husband was an accomplished backpacker. So
he taught us survival skills.
Yes, and more than that.
Yes, he did.
So then that night we had a marvelous, as we did on all our backpacking trips, of which we had many. We sang around the campfire. My husband played the harmonica, and we toasted marshmallows and so on. And unfortunately, the oldest daughter ran into one of the support poles of one of the tents. It was aluminum, so it easily bent. And that night, we were asleep, and we had a storm,
it was a big
mountain storm.
Major storm.
It reverberated throughout that canyon. The thunder was loud. The hail was even more devastating as it piled up on the tops of the tent. So it wasn't too long when our tent flap opened and the other 3 came in because their tent had collapsed and was awash. So we were 7 people in a 3-man tent. In the morning, it was beautiful. The storm was over. The people who had horses, their horses were gone, even though they were tethered. They'd taken off, or who, probably back. They knew the way home to their corral, but they were gone. My husband and son got all the squaw wood. And for those that don't know what squaw wood is, it's the lowest branches of dead trees, or even live trees, but the branches are dead. And that wood you can generally use to make a fire. It's called squaw wood because Indian squaws could easily reach it. So my husband made a fire. And as we were sitting around the fire enjoying our hot cocoa and oatmeal and so on, a stranger came up, a woman, and she was very cold. We believe she had hypothermia. She was from San Francisco. She had no shelter. So we plied her with coffee and hot things, and we had a black tarp that we'd used for our 7 backpacks to cover them. We gave her the tarp so that she could have a little shelter of some kind.
A blind of some sort.
Yes, and then we gave her a fry pan, and our son went out to the lake and caught some fish for her. And then we left about 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So that was our adventure in the Pecos. We saw so many things on our backpacking trips. Several times we took our dog with us, and she always scared up the deer when the kids took off on their exploratory trips from the base camp. We saw lots of things. Went lots of places. We backpacked in the
But we didn't
Pecos.
just see a lot of things. We also learned.
Oh, yes.
So you would gather us around if you found a certain sapling or a flower, especially the lady orchids, if we found those, and you would explain them and kind of go through. And you don't pick the wildflowers because once you pick them, that's it. They don't come back.
And we used to tease the youngest because she was closer to the ground, and we said that's how come she could always find the fairy slipper orchids first.
Yes. Yeah.
But yes, I always had a trail book with me, and I always had a flower book. And
I learned about the geology.
Yes. And our husband taught them about the stars. At night out in the mountains where there are no lights to obscure or illuminate your view, you can look up and see the stars. and he taught them the stories of the
I
constellations.
loved that. That was one of the greatest things for me.
He had been a navigator in the Air Force and learned how to navigate by the stars. And just beautiful, beautiful adventures. So enough of the backpacking. Let's get back to maybe some of the other family stories. The kids all took, well, the girls took dancing lessons, and they started at 3, went to their recitals and so on. And then when they started school, they didn't last too long, maybe 2nd grade. Later on, 3 of the daughters wanted further lessons, so one took tap and the other 2 took jazz. And Catherine, to this day, takes dancing lessons. She's proficient in all of the, what do you call them, the different types of dance, I guess I would say. My favorites with her are the tap and the ballet. A joy to watch. And they took piano lessons, all 5. 2 of the children wanted to take guitar lessons, so indeed they took guitar lessons. They were in Boy Scouts. Our son was an Eagle Scout. Girls were in Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout leader, like 12 years, with 4 daughters. But I think one of the things, just to tell you what, our family was close and supported each other in all the endeavors. Catherine was a cadet Girl Scout. They wanted to go on a backpacking trip in the Pecos. They couldn't get chaperones. So she persuaded her older brother to please, please, please be a chaperone. And you know what? He said yes, he would be. And he was a chaperone. And they had a wonderful backpacking trip. I think it was 3 or 4 days, wasn't it?
It was. And the girls, there were some that were older than I was by maybe a year.
Or 2.
And having Robert there, it was like perfect because they listened to everything he said. They just wanted to be right by him. And they, does he have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, I forgot to say that you met the bus all the way into college when your dad came home. The kids would go down to meet Dad at the bus stop, even in college. So,
well, we had the dog to walk, which was always nice. She liked to go down there too, but it was nice to greet Dad at the bus all the time. He was always happy to see us. It was fun.
You know, one of the times that I liked the best was Christmas. I will tell you, the kids were angels. I loved Christmas. I loved the Christmas season because we had different activities. We had Christkindle, where they drew names and they didn't know which name they drew until Christmas Eve. And then they would be so nice to their Christkindle. And then I had the custom of putting little straws out. And if they did a good deed, they could put it in the manger for the baby Jesus. They had their own little crib set in the den. And then the other thing we had was the Advent wreath. There were 7 of us, so we each had a day. And you could say whatever prayers you want, whatever you wanted to do for the Advent wreath. And the family together made the Advent wreath. We suspended it in our front hallway, and that meant that
you had to duck.
Then sometimes they forgot to duck, and it was on the floor, and we had to repair it. But that didn't matter. It was something that we did together, and it was a beautiful time. One of the things the kids did, they had a little bowl. They kept it under the older girl's double dresser, and then they would put money in there throughout the year from their allowance or whatever. They didn't ask each other how much each one put in. They never bothered. When it came time to do Christmas shopping, they would go in and count it all together to see how much. And then they would persuade Mom to take them to the shopping center. And I would do that, and I'd have to sit outside, and they went into the sporting goods store, and they would go in there and pick out some flies for their dad. And they were very particular. I don't know how they picked them out, but they did. But the fellow who waited on them was so entranced that he would give them a fly box. It was more expensive than the flies, and he would count out their money, and then he would gift wrap it for them. It was beautiful. And then they persuaded their dad to do the Christmas shopping for me and the same kind of thing. But those were beautiful, beautiful memories. because it kept the family together. Right now, it's May. We celebrate Mother's Day in May. And when the kids were growing up, we always had a shrine to Mary, and the kids could design it, and they would have flowers, and we'd pray the rosary, and so on. So those were beautiful family customs that we had growing up. We were honored by the children by being New Mexico Parents of the Year in 2001.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
in your way of thinking. In my way, it was only yesterday. It was only yesterday that you were born. And my husband and I were married 61 years when he died. Yes. And yeah, indeed. And the family also we were the first family to get the New Mexico Philanthropy Award, because always we told the kids that our philosophy was, you were put on this earth for one thing: to love God, to serve Him, and to be happy with Him in heaven. And in so doing, you would make the world a better place. And so there were lots of things that we did for always. We had Christmas baskets, Thanksgiving baskets, and so on. My husband did most of the delivery of the Christmas baskets, later assisted by the grandkids and the kids. But always to remember, there but for the grace of God go I. I had a lot of those sayings.
Yes.
Let me look at this. Besides making the world a better place, one of the things that I often said to them, as they would say, oh, this happens and this kid can do that. No, to thine own self be true. Be the very best that you can be. You don't follow the crowd. You do the right thing and you be the best you can be. And I also said, and I said it often, that I will pass this way but once. Mm-hmm. And if there is some good that I can do, then let me do it. And then I had embroidered in the bathroom that they could look at every day a sampler. And what did that say? Catherine?
Oh, Mom, which one was it? Because you had a couple of them.
Well, it was the one that I put right above the commode.
The blue one?
Remember yesterday?
Yes.
Ponder tomorrow,
yes,
but live for today.
Sorry,
and I said that tomorrow may never come. You'll never know, but tomorrow might never come. So you live for today and you make it the very best day. And I also said, don't ever say anything that's not nice. You can never take back words. So that was something my husband and I lived by. Don't ever say anything, because you can't ever take back those words. So live each day to the fullest and be happy and be yourself and be the very best that you can be. So, and I also told the kids when they became teens, yes, no drinking.
6 words: no drinking, no smoking, no nothing.
No necking, you forgot that.
Well, that went in the know nothing by the time Linda and I were of age.
Well, the joy of having an older child and younger children is that they learn that when you say no to the older ones, that you better not ask because the answer's the same. So those were some of our activities growing up. We went on vacations. We went to lots of interesting places. The Tetons, the Glacier National Park, to Canada, to Banff, hiking, learning, fun things. And Washington, D.C., Catalina Island, Disneyland. Oh, once we camped. We had a tent trailer then. We camped in San Diego on Shelter Island, I think it was. And the camping spot was right on the bay. And at 7 a.m., we were awakened by the girls shouting to their brother to stop. He was trying to catch an octopus.
It was orange. We didn't know anything about it.
Well, it shot its ink So, yeah, it was fun camping too. Oh, we went to Mexico over Christmas break. The older girls were in high school, and we went to San Carlos Bay, and we camped right across from the ocean there, the bay, and we were the only tent trailer in the whole campground. The rest had these very lovely looking trailers.
Ours was lovely.
We liked it.
I liked it.
And
It fit all of us.
Again, it was very early in the morning, and
I got up at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yes.
But I had asked Dad the night before if I could go down, because that was the only place when the sun was just coming up to see the dolphins and the sea lions. Wildlife, have to go see it. So I got up, and Dad said I could the night before, but I don't think he really thought I was going to do it.
Oh, yes, he did, but he didn't think it was going to be that early.
Well, so I got up at 3:30 and woke Linda up, but Linda didn't want to go. And then I left and crossed the highway, and it was dark. I took a flashlight, and I went down there, but guess what I saw as soon as that sun was coming up? Sea lions, and they were all over the place. And then as that sun came up, they went into the ocean. I would have missed it.
Well, you had a great adventure.
I did.
And truly
then Dad came to get me.
Yes. And truly our camping and our traveling back to visit the grandparents were always filled with adventures wherever we went, because we made things happen. But I want to close because that's enough of that. But I did make all of their clothes, their prom dresses, their wedding dresses. And since Catherine is here, when we were doing her wedding dress, she said she didn't want just a chapel train. She wanted a little bigger train, so she got it. But the most fun of that was designing her veil together. We had a lot of fun.
We did.
I made all the bridesmaids' dresses as well as the maid of honor for all of the girls' weddings. And I will tell you a funny story. It's funny when we look back. When the oldest daughter was married, we purchased a cake, and the kids said, "Mom, that cake doesn't taste as good as yours do." So for the second daughter, I made a 5-tier wedding cake as well as satellite cakes. And we were at the reception enjoying it, and all of a sudden
the Leaning Tower of Pisa, yeah.
Yes, the wait staff came over and said, "You might want to cut the cake. It's kind of leaning." So they cut the cake. So that was the story of the Leaning Tower. So can you think of anything that you want to add?
I think what I would add is, being that it's Mother's Day, that my mother has taught us, and of course my dad they brought us up, of course, with a lot of education that helped each and every one of us be good critical thinkers with what it is that we are faced with, whether it be whatever the situation might be, whether it be with humans or in the environment or an issue. And I think that definitely, being able to critically think, has helped each and every one of us be a better person. And I think that also helps us to understand the perspectives of other people around us or the community. And that was what Dad wanted to be sure was something that we did take into account.
And that's why we got the philanthropy award, because all of the children and grandchildren. But I want to conclude with one last story. Our oldest daughter's husband went in for surgery for a simple bypass, double bypass. The doctor said, "Oh, everything is fine," when he came out. Well, everything wasn't fine, because a couple hours later, he lapsed into unconsciousness and was that way for
2 months?
2.5 months. And our daughter was there. It happened to be 90 miles away. He was at the, the Coeur d'Alene Regional Center, Medical Center, and 90 miles away from their home. And our daughter is the assistant provost at Washington State University. And although she used her laptop or whatever to communicate with her staff, 2 months is a long time to be away from the office. So her sisters, the first one was Catherine, said, we'll go up and help. And I said to daughter, I called her every day at noon and at night. At noon, after she had seen his team of doctors, he had a nurse just for him. He was unconscious, and he had a nurse just for him. So I called twice a day, first to find out after the team, and then at night when she left. Then I said to her, you must not go, you have to go back to your office. You may not go to the hospital. Those are the conditions, and your sisters are coming up. So Catherine came first, and she stayed a week and was there all day, early in the morning until at night.
And Glenn he was awake by that time, but not able to, he could sort of walk.
He had tubes in every place that you wouldn't imagine. So then she left on Saturday, and the next sister came up, and she was there a week. And then the last sister came up with her husband, and you know what? He woke up then. And I'm happy to say that today, which is 3 years later, 3.5, he is doing...
Well, he didn't wake up when they were there. He was released.
Yes.
He was released.
He was released and went into rehab and so on. But he is doing beautifully well, and he's back to doing his woodworking and yard work and enjoying life. And what a joy that was. But he had a prayer circle back at his parish. He had everyone praying, and the power of prayer cannot be underestimated, because truly he died twice when he was in the hospital there. So we have been blessed with many blessings, and we are very proud of our children and grandchildren for what they have managed to be involved with their community, to be real people, dedicated, faith-loving, and as a family, very, very close. And we're going to celebrate Mother's Day tonight. The family that's here in Albuquerque will be at a barbecue at Catherine's house, and the others will come, and it's joy. Family celebrations are always joyful. And all the years, my husband and I had Christmas Eve always at our home, as well as Easter. We had Easter egg hunts, and to this day, oh yes, even at their age, and I hate to tell you, you can tell we would have been married, let's see, this year would have been 66 years. Is that right? Yes. So you know that the kids still like the Easter egg hunts, imagine that. And with that conclusion, I hope that all your families will be well, happy, and blessed.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for sharing the positive imprints that have made each of my siblings whom we are, coming from you and Dad, and of course our nieces and nephews. Well, thank you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Well, thank you, dear.
Well, from both of us here at Your Positive Imprint, we wish all of you, as Mom said in the beginning, a happy Mother's Day wherever you are in the world.
And love and value each member of your family.
Thank you. Your Positive Imprint. What's your PI?